of mothering into the room today, because this today, mother has so many connotations. There is our own personal mothers, because we all have one. But that doesn't guarantee the kind of relationship we're going to have with our mother or them with us. And so sometimes there's quite a wide range of experiences in the room. And Meg, I thought you did a beautiful job of making it a safe space for everyone, no matter what your experiences have been. Because just because it was that way then does not mean that that is the way it has to be forever. That's our choice. And I can just tell you from my own experience, I have to remember that these are recorded, because sometimes I say more than I'd like the world to know, but just between us. My mother said something to me once when I was, I think, 13, and wearing tight red shorts. Now I noticed my granddaughter, because it's very popular now for young children, young girls, to wear tight shorts again. And my mother said, better put a fence around that. And I said, what? What? And she was referring to what happened when I walked and how evident it was in my tight red shorts. Now, my mother was trying to be funny about something that concerned her, and she didn't know how to do it differently. So she did it that way. I know that today, thank heavens. Now, my mother isn't with us anymore, but fortunately, even though I pushed her away twice in my life, once for a very long time, for saying something else, we had 10 years together before she left the planet. And even though we never talked about it, even though I love to talk about all those things, I really believe in bringing it out and letting it go. But I've come to understand that we have a compass inside of ourselves. I call it peace. You can call it whatever you like. In Ukraine, we share with the children and the teachers that we all have this compass. And it's like a GPS. It shows us where we are and where we're headed, and it steers us always to the main destination. The main thing is to have the main thing be the main thing. And for me, the main thing is peace. Because when I am peaceful in my heart and my mind, then it's easier to see those little comments that can be hurtful, or those moments where we can do harm to each other by being critical in an unconscious kind of way. When I am more peaceful, I'm able to see a wider perspective. I'm able to access my own inner wisdom. That's the power of the compass of peace. As I've learned to use it, and as I share that with thousands of children and teachers in Ukraine, I am so clear that peace is the key. Now, love could just as easily be the key, but I couldn't get to love without peace. My experience was I knew that love was this big, wonderful reality, but I had learned to not entirely trust it. I don't know if anybody else has had those experiences, but usually there's some people in the room who have. And so I just want to say that when we put peace first, it allows us to stop reacting to the past that is unhealed yet in us. The learning of putting peace first walks us through our paces. It teaches us, it holds our hand. It's like this compass with arms, with real hands, with real hearts. It's this living compass within us that says it's okay. We can change that. We don't have to live in yesterday. And then we have to take responsibility for how we still do. Like, I love the Beatles music. And in fact, I'm using it in Ukraine right now to teach putting peace first. I'm using the song Imagine. But there's another song that's I Believe in Yesterday. And every time I hear it, I go, no, I don't. I believe it was there, but I don't still believe in that. I've changed. I now am more peaceful. I now can see that everybody's doing the best they can. My parents did the best they could. My neighbor is doing the best she can. My dog is doing the best she can. And when we understand that, then it's so much easier to it dissolves our judgment. It dissolves our pain so that we can access the love that's there. It's wonderful to know that mothers, most of them, are loving. But if you don't experience it, if the mother doesn't feel confident in it, if the mother has unhealed pain, it gets passed along. And so if that's the case in your life, you cannot, perhaps never, change your mother. But you can change yourself and how you relate to the past that was painful. And so today is not really so much about the pain, except to say that we don't need to carry it anymore. That we don't need to have it because we have something more. We have an understanding of how that happened. It was the best anyone could do. It was the best I could do to behave and respond the way I did, including pushing her away, because that's what I did. It wasn't good, but we forgave it. And that was more than wonderful. I am so grateful for that. So just know, if you have one of those, we're going to do a little meditation in the middle of this somewhere. And the rest of it's going to be kind of playful and silly, because where I started when Patricia called me this last week and said, "Can you do it?" And I said, "What do you think?" I was just having the thought that dogs and mothers have a lot in common. She said, really? It's not a very sacred kind of thought, one might think. But I said, but hey, look at what if you spell dog backwards? What do you get? If you spell it from the right to the left instead of from the left to the right, you get something entirely different than dog. So just, look at that and see if you can't think that dogs have a very special role in our lives. And actually, I thought that I do think dogs often bring out the best in us. And how do they do that? So, isn't that something that mothers do? That is part of what we're designed for, and fathers too, for that matter. We're not designed to shape them like sculptors into little miniatures of us or the way we think they ought to be. We're really here as stewards, as as guides, to bring out the best that's already in them. And every single child is unique and born to express that uniqueness. And what happens when you must do this or you must do that? And when we try to please each other, if that's where love comes from, by being who people want you to be, whether it's your parents or your partners or your children or your neighbors or your employer, those things don't usually feel so good. And dogs are, if I say dog, what's a quality of a dog that is really evident in most dogs? What would you think? I made a little list. We can't talk to each other in this format, but think about it. the first thing that came up for me a couple days ago when I was preparing for today was unconditional loving. Dogs are famous for unconditional love. No matter what, they wag their tail when they see you. They can't hide their love. I wish we had tails, really. Because what if mothers had tails, and when they were saying something like put a swing around it, the tail would be wagging and it would tell me that, oh, this is okay. It's not a put down on me. It's really, she's just trying to make a joke and say, be careful, honey. I want only the best for you, dear. The tail gives it away. So where's our tail? How do we give that away? We have a smile on our face. It's so powerful a tool, this smile on her face. Maybe not as automatic as a dog's tail, because I don't think the dog thinks, oh, I'm feeling good, I should wag my tail. The dog just wags its tail because it feels good or it loves us, and it doesn't matter if we yelled at it 2 minutes ago. Unless we abuse it, then it doesn't wag its tail. It tells us where we are in relation to it, right? Well, our smile does the same thing. I remember when I worked in the Soviet Union, and I would go there every 3 months. We had a project that we were developing there, my company. And so I would play this little game. How many people could I get to smile in a day? Because it was a pretty hard time then. It was just when freedom was starting to be a possibility, and it was moving from being a dirty word to being maybe a good thing. And so, people they were afraid to express all those things, and they had more of a dour expression at the time. But I would experiment every day. If I could catch their eye, which was really key, I would smile. And if somebody smiles at you, what happens in you? What happens? You smile back, right? Yeah. It's the mirror neurons. There's a scientific reason why. And it works all the time. And it's really hard to be angry and smiling at the same time. And so it is a great tool to learn how to navigate these difficult times. And heaven knows they're difficult. But that doesn't mean that's the only way they can be. They're difficult because we're paying a lot of attention to the past, to what didn't happen, what we wanted, what we didn't get, how we need to get the power so we don't lose it again, and all of those things. I fall into the rabbit hole sometimes too, thinking that, this moment in history is like a total reformation, violent and intrusive disturbing of everything on the planet. It's so easy to think that way because, in fact, those are some of the facts. But that doesn't mean that it has to be something that destroys us or the planet. Our response to it really determines what's going to happen there. If we sit at home wishing and hoping like Uriah Heep and wringing our hands and going, oh, I don't know what to do and what can one person do? Well, then we abdicate our power. Every one of us has an internal compass, and every one of us has a smile, and every one of us has a heart, and every one of us has a memory, and we draw to us that which is within us. That's also a scientific thing, which we're not going to have time to explore. But Einstein did a pretty good job of it. So if we use our mission in our Golden Path of Peace organization and our joint venture in Ukraine with an organization called We Stand for the Future. Not we stand on the past or for the past, we stand for the future. And our project is called the Understanding Peace Project. So what has that got to do with dogs or mothers? Well, first of all, they hold the key. They're the ones who are enshrined with ministering to the heart. Because what you birth from you has something. I mean, my son is a great dad. And I'm sure most of you are too, if you've had children. But moms have a little advantage just because they've nurtured this life and they've brought it in. And Meg used some beautiful words about, how this life is cradled and how it it holds the life of humanity. And in fact, that's true. And the dog doesn't, I don't think, thinks about any of those things, but the dog cannot pretend to be somebody that it isn't. Dogs haven't learned that. We've learned that all too well, but not dogs. They're holding on to their tails and they are letting themselves be known as they are. So, there's a sign in many people's home. I have one. A lot of people, I've seen them in their homes, and it says, "I'm learning to be the person my dog thinks I am." You know that? Because the dog is just so open and loving and accepting. My dog is such a wonderful dog, but she has a couple of bad habits that really are difficult. And I have been known to get mad about those bad habits if the neighbors are tired of her screaming like a stuck pig just because her friend walked by, you know? And then I go to my dog and she looks at me like this. She's like, "Mom, don't be mad at me." And I say, "I'm sorry, I was mad at you." And she wags her tail and I say, "It's okay." And I give her a biscuit and we're all friends again. It's so easy when we don't get attached to making more of whatever it was or holding on to it for 40 years. I held on to mine for 40 years. Imagine that. That's so painful to think about. 40 years of holding someone at bay. Well, I would never advise it. So I think that we're all becoming who our dog thinks we are. I think that's the capacity. I think that's the role of mothers. I think the role of mothers is to allow herself to intuit and to sense and to feel. And not that men can't do all those things, because they do, but I think it's the mother's assignment. Not that they can't be the ones that work and fathers can't be the ones that stay home. That's true too. What if it takes both our parents? What if it takes a whole village to care? So that we don't tell children who they should be and how they should be, but rather we use what educate means in Latin. I studied Latin in high school and or middle school, I guess. And educare means to bring out what is inside. Instruction is pouring it in. Okay, this is who you are. This is what we do. This is what we believe. This is how we go about it. Educare is, what do you think about that? Is there something that you don't like that you'd like to change? Do you know how? Would you like to learn how to be free of that old memory or that old sadness or that reaction to the neighbor's dog every day? Would you like to be free of that? Because you can be, and we can. We know that. We come here to study, to learn, to understand that this is a life that has been given to us to be the shepherd of this experience, our own, and to contribute to the lives of people around us. So, my very first talk ever, which was in 1998, I think, was living with a mystic disguised as a dog. That was my very first talk because I had a dog just like that, wonderful dog. And here was the example of to ask you, have you ever lived with a mystic disguised as a dog? You could say, "Do you want to go for a walk?" Yes. Tails wing and the voice and the feet run to the where the leash is. Or you could say, "You want a treat?" Yes. Then they run to where the treats are kept, or they go, "Woo woo." You want to eat? Yes. Dogs are filled with yes, and they train us very well how to keep asking them for what they want. Doesn't take long. Pavlov proved that. And I watch it with my dog. If you do the same thing twice, I'm a goner. If I let the dog eat from the table, it'll always try to do that. So dogs have a way of training us. We could look at that to see what have they trained us, and is that in their best interests or ours? We could change it. Kids, on the other hand, you say to the kids, would you like to go to bed? No. In the beginning, it's like, yes, I just want to be with you. Where do you want me? With kids, they just want to be wherever parents want them to be until they're about 2. And then, the mother can do almost anything. But the kids start saying no. And pretty soon, they train us that we have to outwit them. We have to be tricky to get the lessons in. We have to do them sideways because they're really good at no, or I'll see you later, or I'll do it later, or yes, until, if we're smart, we realize that they all must find their way, and how can they find it without us? We are the resistance to the wings that their butterfly self is. And we have the ability and the responsibility to create a context for that. That's what mothers and fathers do, is create a context for the bursting out energy that every child must do. And so our job is to be wise. Our job is to not take our unhealed pain or any broken part of us and give it to them, and pass it along, which is often what happens. Our job is to wake up. Our job is to be conscious of who we are and how much do we carry the past into the present and determine the future. And when people say there's always been war, I go, yeah, because it's an idea that everybody swallowed. And we just have to have a better idea. And we're on that path. So everything we do is consciously to create the culture of peace within ourselves. What do we do here? What does each of us do in this community? We have a culture of seeking for the higher good that is within us, the higher power, whatever word you use for it. And so understanding that a mother's role and a father's role too is a really loving thing, but also a really sometimes hard thing. And sometimes it seems like I used to be afraid, what if I didn't do it right? Or what if this happened? Or then when they would get in trouble, people would say, well, what's the matter with you? Mothers and fathers carry this huge responsibility, and I wish we all knew that we had a key to the whole story within ourselves, that we have a compass that can change that. Not change the responsibility, but just change how heavy it can feel. What if you had a key that allowed you to understand that there is a compass in you that you can use that's always pointing you towards wisdom, towards peace, towards inner peace, towards acceptance, towards self-love, towards all the things that we desire. But the gate stays closed until our brain, our mind, and our heart are not disturbed by our unhealed parts. We don't, doesn't matter how old we are. We can make this change at any time. We can imagine it so. So I want to do, I don't know how much time, not much more. I want to just ask you, if you're not comfortable today doing it, and we're probably out of time, you can ask yourself, what's my relationship with my mother? What was it like, and what is it like now? Give yourself some space. Give yourself, some place where you won't be disturbed. I'm going to do a 1 minute with you, but it really is an hour-long process, or maybe the beginning of a great journey for you. But you can close your eyes and you can say, what is my the way I carry my relationship with my mother, what is the handle of it for me? Is it resentment or is it gratitude? Is it joy or is it sorrow? And just let yourself know that, and then take a breath, one breath, slowly, just. And that one breath has the power to move the energy from sadness and worry about the way you've been carrying that relationship to something softer. It takes the dissonance out of it. One breath can do that. And then you can say, well, what can I appreciate? What can I appreciate there? I remember that this is why it was hard. But where was the good that I didn't notice then? What can I be grateful for? And so we just close our eyes again and we just ask ourselves, what can I be grateful for that I didn't notice then? Or that I understand today that I was too caught in my own world to appreciate? And we make a little sentence for ourselves. I'm grateful for my mother for, and you finish the sentence. There's always something so good there for us in every relationship, whether we know it right this moment or not, we can find it. Sometime I want to come and really spend some time and an hour, 3 hours, 20 minutes, and really walk us through the art and science of putting peace first. But today, I want to end with gratitude and then humor. So we just put our hand on our heart and take that gratitude we have for our mother, as easy or difficult as that may be. And we put our hand there and we say, I am grateful to you, Mom, or whatever you called her. I'm grateful to you for that. And then we take our hand off and just connect with the universal energy and let it go out into the ethers to find its natural connection so that it's there for you. And if you ever wonder again, or it comes up, of course it will, because if you've held it for a long time, put your hand back there. And in my family, we call that loving from our heart, sending love from our heart. We feel it and we send it to the other person, whether they're still with us or not. We are infinite beings and we can change the past by how we relate to it in the present. I guarantee that. It's possible. So, thank you for doing that with me. Now, I want to just give you something to make you laugh. I raced over to my son's house this morning at 8 o'clock to get his hug, his flowers, and the handmade card he makes me every year. And it's always got a river that runs through the card. He decorates it for me. And his wife and oldest daughter are leaving today for Italy and Greece and parts beyond. And so, I want to feel totally safe to let them go. And I want to know everything is good. And I wanted to hug them extra hard. And while I was there, when we were making breakfast, I looked up something on the internet that I had seen and I want to share it with you. I knew it was there. And so just at the last minute, I raced home, printed it out, and this is for you. It was taken from a book called What a Wonderful Life for Moms, celebrating the wonder and joy of motherhood. A lot of wonder. I'll tell you, I had a lot of wonder. I wonder if I'll survive. I wonder if I survive with that son of mine. Oh my gosh, he put me through his paces. But somehow, and I said to him, I can't control anything anymore. You're impossible. But you've always stayed respectful to me, and you've always been, a member of this household and done your family well. So I know that in you, you have a strong something that will guide you to the right choices because you're dancing with the devil and it will guide you when you need to. I know that, and I'm trusting that you know that. And that's all I could do. But you know what he said? He says, I've used that more than once. I've trusted you when I didn't trust me. And I've done the same. And maybe you have too. And that is a treasure, a pearl of great price, as they say. That is a treasure. So here's the humor for the rest of the day. Life is wonderful because the innocence and honesty of children. How did God make mothers? The teacher asked the children. He used dirt just like the rest of us. Magic pins plus superpowers and a lot of stirring. God made my mom just the same like he made me. He just used bigger parts. What ingredients are moms made of? God makes mothers out of clouds and angel hair and everything nice in the world, and one little daub of meanness. What kind of little girl was your mom? My mom was always my mom, and none of that other stuff. I don't know because I wasn't there, but I guess I would say pretty bossy. They say she used to be nice. If you could change one thing about your mom, what would it be? She has a weird thing about keeping my room clean. I'd get rid of that. I'd make my mom smarter. Then she would know it was my sister who did it and not me. I would like her to get rid of the invisible eyes on her back. What's the difference between mom and dads? Well, moms work at work and work at home, and dads just go to work at work. Moms know how to talk to teachers without scaring them. Dads are taller and stronger, but moms have all the real power because they're the ones you've got to ask if you can go for a sleepover to your friends. Moms have magic. They make you feel better without medicine. What does your mom do in her spare time? Moms don't have spare time. To hear her tell it, she pays bills all day long. I hope this gives you a chuckle. And remember, God could not be everywhere, so he made mothers, is a Jewish proverb. And what I know is what mothers are is not like a raisin in a bun, it's in all of us. We all have it, and we have a compass for it. So I thank you for inviting me to come and share with you. And when I do the circle at the end, I have a little song I want to sing you. But thank you, thank you, thank you. It's been a joy to bring mothering to you today. Yeah, thank you so much. Did it work? Was it good? Yeah, great. I loved it.
You know what? Now it is the beautiful music from Kate again. Thank you.